All right, now let's get the very latest from Israel. We cross now to our correspondent, Sarah Coates, who is in Israel for us. Sarah, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. While Israel's pounding of Gaza continued overnight, I would imagine today is the same. Just give us a sense of what's happening where you are now.
Well, look, I'm just going to warn you in advance. If I have to leave this live location, it is because Tel Aviv is being targeted by a barrage of rockets right now. There have been huge booms in the distance where I am. It's actually quite strange. We haven't heard any rocket sirens go off, but certainly rockets have been sent into Tel Aviv and also central Israel. Hamas says it is targeting Ben Gurion Airport, which is very, very close to here. Because of that, no flights are allowed in and out of Israel for the rest of the day. Now, look, this is very concerning. We are really seeing an escalation here in this conflict. You said, of course, that Israel has been waging a huge aerial campaign on the Gaza Strip. That is continuing. We know that scores of people have been injured and killed in Gaza, but there's another concerning front potentially opening up in all of this, and that is in the north, where Israel and Hezbollah are trading fire there on the Lebanon border. This is especially concerning given that Hezbollah gave its guarantees to Lebanon, to its foreign minister, to say that it would not become involved in this conflict. It said it would not weigh in unless it is, quote, harassed by Israel, but that seems to be changing. A little earlier today, Hezbollah militants fired anti-tank missiles over the Green Line into Israel, targeting an IDF position. Israel then retaliated. And just to show you the seriousness of this situation, Israel has now moved all of the patients from the largest hospital in the north, it's Rambam Hospital in Haifa, to these extremely secure bunkers which are underground. They have not been used since 2006 when the Second Lebanon War was fought.
So actually, Sarah, the situation is very tense where you are. I mean, it sounds like any moment now an eventuality will occur. Let's talk about what you've just mentioned about Lebanon. It seems like there are a number of moving targets and, of course, a number of players here. Of course, you spoke earlier also about Syria being in the fray. And now we know, of course, Lebanon through Hezbollah being part of this war. So you've got infighting in the south in Gaza. You've got infighting in the north in large areas.
Yeah, look, this is extremely concerning. This is something that Israel has been speaking about now for more than a decade. We know that Hezbollah, which is, of course, backed by Iran, has stores and stores of extremely dangerous, extremely long-range weapons. Now, if Iran does, continue to back Hezbollah, which it does, and if Hezbollah and Lebanon get involved, and then, of course, if Syria also weighs into this conflict, it would really mean that another two fronts or one huge front in the north open up, really leaving Israel extremely exposed. Now, we do know that Israel has had the biggest call-up of reservists already. Almost 400,000 troops have been called up in just over the last 48 hours. So this is certainly extremely concerning. We do understand many of these will be sent to the north as well as building up already down in the south. But look, it's certainly a region up in the north there that Israel is really focusing on. Residents have been told to evacuate, and if they cannot, to stay in shelter for the next, hours or days or until they're told it is safe to come out. But look, I'm telling you, it really feels on the ground like things could turn a corner any moment.
But of course, for Israel, the U.S. is throwing its power behind Israel, with that first shipment of weapons arriving in that country that we saw earlier. What do we know so far in terms of, the continued support that it's receiving from the U.S., particularly with the fears that you speak of today and, of course, other international vantage points?
Yeah, well, of course, Israel and the US are very close allies. President Biden had a call with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, late last night, with Biden reiterating his strong support for Israel. He then made that television address condemning the atrocities which took place here in Israel over the weekend. The death toll has already surged to more than 1,200 people on the Israeli side. We know that there are at least 1,000 casualties in Gaza. We do understand that an aircraft carrier has been sent. It is now stationed in the Mediterranean, and this advanced weapons shipment did make its way here to Israel, the plane landing here yesterday. So look, as you mentioned, the US continues to reiterate its strong support for Israel, along with many other Western powers, giving Israel, supporting its right to defend itself. But look, given if this northern front certainly does open up, it will really change things here on the ground immensely.
I mean, the Israeli army, saying that they have struck over 200 targets in Gaza. Let's talk about the humanitarian situation here. We know that there are calls for a safe passage for the people of Gaza, for humanitarian aid, much needed humanitarian aid and humanitarian relief to reach the people of Gaza. What do we know so far about that?
Yeah, well, look, there are desperate pleas from humanitarian groups there to open a corridor from Gaza into Egypt. This is currently being looked at by the US National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. He is trying to find a way to facilitate this between Israel and Egypt there, to get humanitarian aid and medicines into the Strip and then to get civilians out. But so far, it looks like that will not be happening. We did hear in the last sort of half an hour that fuel now in Gaza has completely run out. This is absolutely devastating for the people there who've been injured. This means that hospitals simply will not be able to sufficiently treat the wounded. And let me tell you, there are scores of them. We've had whole neighbourhoods being reduced to rubble. It's absolutely a devastating situation on the ground. Just given how densely populated Gaza is, it is one of the most densely populated areas in the world. But look, the sad reality of this is that Hamas really uses its civilians to hide behind. It puts weapons in schools, it puts weapons in universities, and the residents there are basically hung out to dry. So look, it is an extremely horrible situation for these people in Gaza. And as I mentioned, the death toll there continues to rise.